Before we embark on this incredible journey together, I have a small, heartfelt request. Please subscribe to my channel, give this video a like. It costs you nothing but means the world to me. And let me know in the comments which beautiful corner of the world you're watching from. Your support truly makes a difference. The woman standing in front of my daughter's classroom had the same crooked smile I'd seen in my nightmares for 10 years. I gripped my purse so tight, my knuckles went white. The hallway of Riverside Elementary School suddenly felt like it was closing in around me. Parents chatted casually around me, discussing homework and weekend plans. They had no idea they were standing next to a monster. Mrs. Patterson? The voice belonged to my 8-year-old daughter, Emma. She tugged on my jacket. "Are you okay? You look funny." I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. The woman, that woman, was now Ms. Rebecca Thornton, according to the nameplate on her classroom door. She was older, grayer, wearing thick-rimmed glasses that hadn't been there before. But I knew. God help me, I knew. The same hands that had taken my son Michael from our front yard in 2014 were now holding children's artwork. The same voice that had whispered, "He's safe with me," during those 3 terrifying phone calls was now explaining math homework to concerned parents. "Emma, go wait by the water fountain," I managed to whisper. "But Mom, now." My daughter's eyes widened at my tone, but she obeyed. Smart girl, always listened when it mattered. I watched Rebecca Thornton laugh at something another parent said, natural, comfortable, like she belonged here, like she hadn't destroyed a family a decade ago and vanished into thin air when the FBI got too close. The Kansas Bureau of Investigation had told me she was probably dead. These types don't usually resurface, Agent Martinez had said during our last meeting in 2019. She's either deceased or living under a completely new identity in another country. Wrong on both counts. She'd been hiding in plain sight, teaching children. The irony made my stomach churn. I pulled out my phone with trembling fingers and scrolled to a contact I hadn't used in 5 years. Detective Ray Morrison, Kansas City PD, the man who'd worked Michael's case day and night until the trail went cold. My thumb hovered over his number. 10 years of therapy, 10 years of rebuilding our lives, 10 years of Michael learning to trust again after 3 days in a stranger's basement. And now this. Rebecca Thornton glanced my way, and for just a second our eyes met. No recognition flickered across her face. Why would it? I was just another parent to her now. Another normal Tuesday evening at parent-teacher conferences. But I knew her secret, and after 10 years of waiting, justice was finally within my grasp. Sometimes the universe delivers exactly what you need when you least expect it. I called Detective Morrison from my car in the school parking lot, my hands still shaking. Emma sat in the passenger seat, finally old enough to ride up front, carefully not asking questions. She could sense I wasn't ready to answer. "Morrison?" "Detective, this is Sarah Patterson. You worked my son Michael's kidnapping case in 2014. A pause. "Mrs. Patterson? Christ, I haven't heard from you in years. Is everything all right?" "I found her." The words came out steady, which surprised me. "Linda Carey, the woman who took Michael. She's teaching at my daughter's school under the name Rebecca Thornton." The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. "Sarah," he said finally, his voice careful, "are you absolutely certain? It's been 10 years. People change." "It's her." I watched parents stream out of the school building, some chatting, others checking phones. Normal people living normal lives. Same crooked smile, same way she tilts her head when she listens, same scar on her left hand from where she cut herself breaking into our house. Morrison was quiet for another long moment. I could practically hear him thinking, "Where are you right now?" "School parking lot, Riverside Elementary, 1247 Oak Street." "Stay there, don't go anywhere, I'm 20 minutes out." "Ray." "Don't do anything stupid, Sarah. I know what you're thinking, but if this is really her, we do this right, by the book. Understood?" I closed my eyes. Understood. After I hung up, Emma finally spoke. Mom, who were you talking to? How do you explain to your 8-year-old that her 3rd-grade teacher might be a kidnapper? How do you protect that innocence while preparing for what's coming? Someone who's going to help us with something important, I said. Is it about Michael? My daughter was too smart for her own good sometimes. She'd grown up hearing whispered conversations, seeing the way her brother still checked door locks twice before bed, watching how I tensed whenever strangers got too close to either of them. Maybe I need you to promise me something, Emma. For the next few days, you're going to stay close to me or Daddy or Michael. No wandering off, no talking to Miss Thornton alone. Can you do that? Her 8-year-old face went serious. Is she dangerous? I don't know yet, but I'm not taking any chances. Detective Morrison pulled up in an unmarked sedan just as the last parents were leaving. He looked older, grayer hair, deeper lines around his eyes, but still had that same focused intensity that had made me trust him 10 years ago. Show me, he said without preamble. We walked back into the school. The hallways were mostly empty now, just a few teachers finishing up. Rebecca Thornton's classroom light was still on. I peered through the small window in her door. She was erasing the whiteboard, her back to us. Morrison looked, then stepped back, his face grim. Son of a bitch, he muttered. Then louder, we need to talk to Principal Hernandez, now. The next hour was a blur of hushed conversations. Background checks pulled up on laptops and phone calls to federal agencies. Rebecca Thornton had vanished from her classroom sometime during our meeting with the principal, leaving behind only a purse and a half-eaten sandwich. Principal Hernandez kept shaking his head. She's been here 3 years. Excellent references. Clean background check. The kids love her. The background check was for Rebecca Thornton, Morrison explained patiently. Linda Carey disappeared 10 years ago. Different social security number, different history. This woman has been living a lie. By 9 p.m., there was an APB out on Rebecca Thornton, and FBI agents were setting up surveillance on her apartment address, but I knew they wouldn't find her there. Predators who survive this long don't stick around when they smell trouble. Agent Martinez, the same one who'd told me Linda Carey was probably dead, sat across from me in the principal's office at 10:47 p.m. She looked exactly the same, down to the severe black suit and no-nonsense ponytail. Mrs. Patterson, I need you to walk me through exactly what happened tonight, every detail. I told her about parent-teacher conferences, about the moment of recognition, about the way Rebecca Thornton's eyes had swept past mine without a flicker of awareness. She didn't recognize you? No, why would she? I'm 43 now instead of 33. I've lost weight, changed my hair, moved to a different state. To her, I'm just another soccer mom. Martinez nodded, making notes. That gives us an advantage. She has no idea we're closing in. Had, Morrison corrected from his position by the window. Past tense. Her apartment was cleared out. Neighbors say a moving truck came through around 8 this evening. My heart sank. She's gone? Not necessarily. Martinez leaned forward. Sarah, think carefully. Did anything happen today before the conference? Any interaction with Miss Thornton? Any reason she might have spooked? I replayed the day in my mind. Normal morning routine. Dropped Emma at school. Went to work at the insurance office. Picked Emma up. Dinner. Then straight to the school for conferences. Nothing. Emma had a normal day in class. Miss Thornton assigned the usual homework. What about Emma herself? Did she mention anything unusual about her teacher lately? No, she likes Miss Thornton. Says she's funny and patient and... I stopped. A memory surfaced. Wait, last week, Emma came home asking weird questions. What kind of questions? About Michael. About what happened to him when he was little. She'd never really asked details before, but suddenly she wanted to know everything. Where he was taken from, what the bad lady looked like, why she took him. Martinez and Morrison exchanged glances. Sarah, Martinez said carefully, how much does Emma know about Michael's kidnapping? The basics. That a sick woman took him for 3 days when he was 7. that the police found him and brought him home, that the woman went away and couldn't hurt anyone anymore. Has she ever seen photos of Linda Carey? No. We were very careful about that. Michael's therapist said the less the kids knew about specific details, the better for their healing process. Martinez was quiet for a long moment, pen tapping against her notepad. I think Emma figured it out on her own, she said finally. Kids are observant. She probably picked up on similarities between her teacher and the stories she'd heard about her brother's kidnapper. Started asking questions to confirm her suspicions. My blood went cold. You think she said something to Ms. Thornton? It's possible. An 8-year-old asking pointed questions about a kidnapping case might have been enough to spook someone who's been living under false identity for a decade. Morrison pulled out his phone. I'm calling the school's security footage. If Emma said something to trigger this, it would have been in the past few days. The security footage from 3 days earlier showed Emma lingering after class, approaching Ms. Thornton's desk with the serious expression she got when something was bothering her. Can you enhance the audio? Martinez asked the tech specialist they'd brought in. It's not great quality, but let me try. Emma's small voice came through the speakers, tinny but audible. Miss Thornton, did you ever live in Kansas? A pause. Then Rebecca Thornton's voice, careful. No, sweetheart. Why do you ask? You remind me of someone who hurt my brother a long time ago. The room fell silent. On screen, Rebecca Thornton went very still. What was your brother's name? She asked. Michael Patterson. Rebecca Thornton's hand froze halfway to her coffee cup. Even in the grainy security footage, we could see the moment of recognition, the flash of panic. I don't know anyone by that name, Emma. You must be mistaken. But it was too late. An 8-year-old child had just unraveled 10 years of careful identity construction with 2 innocent questions. The best hunters are patient, but sometimes the prey comes right to you. At 2:17 a.m., my phone rang. I was still at the police station, drinking terrible coffee and giving my 4th statement of the night. Morrison grabbed the phone before I could reach it. Unknown number, he said, then nodded to Martinez. They're ready. Martinez activated the trace and recorder. Answer it. Keep her talking as long as possible. I accepted the call. Hello? Hello, Sarah. The voice I'd heard in my nightmares for 10 years. Calm, almost friendly, like we were old friends catching up. Linda? It's Rebecca now. I've been Rebecca for a very long time. A pause. Your daughter is very perceptive. My hand tightened on the phone. Where are you? That's not important. What's important is that you understand. I never meant for this to happen. I never meant for our paths to cross again. You took my son. You kidnapped a 7-year-old boy and kept him in a basement for 3 days. I know. Her voice was quiet. I was sick then, Sarah. Very sick. I've spent the last 10 years getting help, trying to become a better person. By teaching children? By putting yourself in a position to hurt other families? I would never hurt another child. Never. Michael was different. Special. I thought I was saving him from something. Morrison was making frantic gestures, pointing at his watch. Keep talking. Saving him from what? From his family? From people who loved him? You don't understand. You never could understand. But I'm not that person anymore, Sarah. I teach children now. I help them learn and grow. I'm not the monster you think I am. You're calling me at 2 a.m. after fleeing from police. That sounds exactly like something a monster would do. A long silence. Then, I didn't call to argue with you. Why did you call? To make you an offer. My heart rate spiked. Martinez leaned closer to the phone. What kind of offer? I'll turn myself in, cooperate fully with the investigation, plead guilty to whatever charges they want to file, but I want something in return. You're not in a position to negotiate. I think I am. Because I know things, Sarah, things about other cases, other children who went missing over the years, information that could help families find closure. Morrison's eyes went wide. Martinez was already on her radio, calling in additional agents. What other children? That's not a conversation for the phone. But if you agree to meet with me, just you, no police, I'll give you everything. Names, locations, details that could solve a dozen cold cases. I'm not meeting you anywhere without police protection. Then those families will never get their answers. I looked at Martinez, who was shaking her head violently. Sarah, Linda continued, I know you hate me. I know you want to see me rot in prison for what I did to Michael, and that's going to happen. But first, let me do one good thing. Let me help other families the way no one could help yours. Where? I found myself asking, despite every instinct screaming that this was a trap. The old playground at Riverside Park. The one by the pond. Tomorrow at midnight. That's where I took Michael from. Yes. It seems appropriate, doesn't it? Full circle. The line went dead. Martinez was already barking orders into her radio. I want surveillance on that park starting now. Sniper positions, undercover units, the works. She's not going to show, Morrison said. This is a diversion. While we're watching the park, she's getting as far away as possible. Maybe, Martinez replied. But what if she's telling the truth about other cases? I thought about all the missing children posters I'd seen over the years, all the families still searching, still hoping, families like mine had been. I'm going, I said. Absolutely not. She won't talk to anyone else. You heard her. No police or the information dies with her. Sarah, this woman is dangerous. She's already proven she's willing to hurt children. We're not using you as bait. But even as Martinez said it, I could see the wheels turning in her head, the potential for closing multiple cases, the chance to bring peace to other families. What if we wire me up? Full surveillance, sharpshooters in position, backup units ready to move in. Morrison shook his head. Too risky. Detective, I said quietly, 10 years ago, you told me you'd do everything in your power to make sure Linda Carey never hurt another family. This might be our only chance to keep that promise. The hardest choices are the ones where both options feel like betrayal. Michael was waiting for me when I got home at 6 a.m. 17 now, tall and lean like his father, but with my stubborn streak. He was sitting at the kitchen table with 2 cups of coffee, still wearing the clothes from his overnight shift at the grocery store. Dad told me, he said simply. You found her. I sat down across from my son, studying his face for signs of the trauma that had shaped his childhood. His therapist said the nightmares had finally stopped 2 years ago. The compulsive lock-checking had faded to occasional habit. He seemed normal now, healthy, but I knew how deep those scars ran. How are you feeling about it? Michael was quiet for a long time, staring into his coffee cup. When he looked up, his eyes held an intensity I hadn't seen since he was 7 years old, describing the basement where Linda Carey had kept him. I want to be there tomorrow night. Michael, Mom, I'm not asking. I'm telling you, if you're meeting her, I'm going too. The FBI will never allow that. Then they can arrest me for trespassing because I'll be at that park with or without permission. I saw David in him then, the same quiet determination that had gotten my husband through 3 days of searching when the police wanted to wait for ransom demands, the same steel that had held our family together when everything was falling apart. Why? Why put yourself through that? Michael leaned forward. Because I remember things, Mom. Things I've never told anyone, not even Dr. Reynolds. Things she said about other kids, other places. If she's telling the truth about having information, I might be able to help verify it. You were 7 years old, traumatized. Your memories from that time are crystal clear. His voice was firm. Trauma doesn't make you forget, Mom. It makes you remember everything in high definition. I can tell you exactly what that basement looked like, what she fed me, what she said during those 3 days. And I can tell you about the pictures. My blood went cold. What pictures? She had photos on a table. Other kids, different ages, different locations. She'd look at them sometimes and talk to them like they were there. I always wondered who they were. I called Martinez immediately. "Agent Martinez, it's Sarah Patterson. My son wants to be at the meeting tomorrow night." "Absolutely not. We're not putting a civilian child in danger, especially one who—" "He's not a child anymore. He's 17, and he has information you need." Linda Carey showed him photographs of other missing children. The line went quiet. "Put him on the phone." I handed Michael the phone and listened to him calmly, clearly describe details from his captivity that he'd never shared with anyone. Details that only someone who'd been there could know. "Mrs. Patterson?" Martinez was back on the line. "We need to meet with Michael immediately. And Sarah, this changes everything." The FBI field office looked exactly like every cop show you've ever seen. Gray walls, fluorescent lighting, and the constant hum of computers. Michael sat in an interview room with Martinez and a sketch artist, describing photographs he'd seen a decade ago with the precision of a court reporter. The girl in the first photo had dark hair, maybe 10 years old. She was wearing a yellow dress and standing in front of a swing set. The boy in the second photo was younger, maybe 5 or 6, red hair, freckles. He was sitting on what looked like front porch steps. The sketch artist worked quickly, translating Michael's memories into faces that might match missing persons reports from across the country. Any names? Did she ever mention names? She called the girl Katie. The boy was Tommy or Timmy, and there was one more, an older kid, maybe 12. She called him Danny. He had a scar on his chin right here. Michael pointed to his own face. Martinez was on her phone before Michael finished speaking, running those names and descriptions through national databases. "We have potential matches," she announced an hour later. Katie Morrison, age 10, disappeared from a playground in Oklahoma in 2003. Timothy Walsh, age 6, vanished from his front yard in Arkansas in 2005. Daniel Cruz, age 12, missing from Colorado in 2006. "All before Michael," I said, understanding dawning. She'd been doing this for years, and possibly continued after. "Sarah, we need to take this meeting tomorrow night. If Linda Carey has information about these children, about what happened to them—" "She might be their killer," Michael said quietly. "That's what you're not saying, isn't it?" Martinez nodded grimly. "It's possible, which is why tomorrow night is so important and so dangerous." I looked at my son, my brave, damaged, determined son, and made a decision that would haunt me regardless of how it turned out. "We're both going," I said, "together, as a family." "Mrs. Patterson, I cannot recommend—" "Agent Martinez," I interrupted. 10 years ago, a monster took my son from a playground and nearly destroyed my family. Tomorrow night, we face that monster together and make sure she can never hurt anyone else. That's not negotiable. Some bridges you don't cross. You burn them behind you as you walk forward. The day of the meeting crawled by like a funeral procession. David took Emma to his sister's house in Nebraska, far enough away to be safe, close enough to drive back quickly if needed. The house felt hollow without her laughter, without the normal chaos of an 8-year-old getting ready for school. Michael and I spent the morning at the FBI field office, going over the plan until we could recite it in our sleep. I'd wear a wire, backup units would be positioned throughout the park, sharpshooters would have clear sight lines to the playground. If Linda Carey made any threatening moves, the operation would shut down immediately. "Remember," Martinez said for the 100th time, "your job is to keep her talking. Get her to reveal information about the other missing children. Don't try to be a hero." "What if she tries to run?" Michael asked. "You let her. That's what we're there for. Your safety is more important than catching her." But we all knew that was a lie. If Linda Carey ran again, she'd disappear for another decade. This was our only chance. At 4 p.m., my phone rang. David. Sarah, there's something you need to know. Emma's been having nightmares again. Last night she woke up screaming that Ms. Thornton was coming to take Michael away. I closed my eyes. Is she okay? She's scared. She keeps asking if the bad lady is going to hurt her brother again. Tell her Michael is safe. Tell her Mommy and the police are making sure the bad lady can't hurt anyone anymore. Sarah? David's voice broke. What if this goes wrong? What if I lose both of you? You won't. We're being careful. We're surrounded by professionals. Professionals who let her escape in the first place. He had a point. Linda Carey had evaded federal agents for 10 years. What made us think tonight would be different? David, I need you to know something. If this doesn't work, if she gets away again, I'm not giving up. I'll spend the rest of my life hunting her down. I know, that's what scares me. At 11:30 p.m., Michael and I sat in an unmarked van 3 blocks from Riverside Park. The wire technician made final adjustments to the recording equipment hidden in my jacket. Michael wore a similar device, plus a GPS tracker that would alert the tactical team if he moved more than 50 feet from me. Testing, I whispered. Clear as a bell, came Martinez's voice through my earpiece. Remember, if she asks you to move to a different location, you refuse. We can't protect you if you leave the park. I looked at Michael, seeing 7-year-old scared child and 17-year-old determined young man in the same face. You don't have to do this, I told him. Even now, you can stay in the van. Mom, I've been preparing for this moment for 10 years. I'm not backing down now. At 11:55, we walked across the street toward Riverside Park. The playground where Linda Carey had taken my son looked different at midnight, shadowy, ominous, full of hiding places. The swings moved slightly in the breeze, creating an eerie creaking sound. Michael's hand found mine as we approached the old wooden picnic table near the pond, the same table where he'd been playing with his toy cars when a strange woman approached and asked if he wanted to see some puppies. She's not here, Michael whispered, but I could feel eyes watching us from the darkness beyond the playground. Linda Carey was here. I was sure of it. At exactly midnight, she stepped out from behind the pavilion. 10 years older, but unmistakably the same woman who had destroyed my family. She wore dark clothes and moved carefully, scanning the park for signs of law enforcement. Hello, Sarah. Hello, Michael. My son's grip on my hand tightened, but his voice was steady when he replied, Hello, Linda. Face to face with your demons, you discover you're stronger than they ever were. Linda Carey looked smaller than I remembered, older, grayer, but somehow diminished. The monster from my nightmares had turned out to be just a woman in her 50s wearing a windbreaker and tennis shoes. You grew up, she said to Michael, almost wistfully. You look like your father. Don't. Michael's voice was sharp. You don't get to make small talk. You don't get to pretend this is a friendly reunion. Linda flinched, but didn't argue. She sat down at the picnic table, keeping her hands visible. Smart. She knew there were sniper scopes trained on her. I kept my word, she said to me. I came alone. No tricks. The information, I said. Tell me about the other children. First, I need to explain something about that night, about why I took Michael. I don't care why. You need to understand. I wasn't some random predator snatching children off playgrounds. I was watching your family for weeks. I thought I was saving him. Michael leaned forward, his jaw tight. Saving me from what? From your father. The words hung in the air like a slap. I felt my face go hot with rage. David never laid a hand on either of our children, never raised his voice, never— I know that now, Linda interrupted. But then, I was sick, Sarah. Really sick. I'd been living on the streets, addicted to methamphetamines, paranoid, delusional. I'd watch families through windows and create entire stories about what was happening inside. I convinced myself that Michael was being abused. So you decided to kidnap him? I decided to rescue him. In my twisted mind, I was a hero. I was going to take him somewhere safe, somewhere he'd be loved and protected. Michael made a sound that might have been a laugh or a sob. The basement, the locked door, the bucket in the corner. That was your idea of safe and protected? Linda's composure cracked. Tears streamed down her face. I know how it sounds. I know how wrong I was. But Michael, I never hurt you. I brought you food. I read you stories. You terrorized me. Michael's voice echoed across the empty park. I was 7 years old. I thought my parents were dead. I thought no one was coming for me. I know. God, I know. And I've lived with that guilt every single day for 10 years. Martinez's voice whispered in my earpiece. Keep her talking. Get to the other children. The photos Michael saw, I said. Katie, Tommy, Danny, what happened to them? Linda wiped her eyes. They were taken by someone else. Someone much worse than me. What do you mean, someone else? Linda looked around the park nervously, as if saying the name out loud might summon him. His name is Robert Hensley. He's been trafficking children for over 15 years, taking them from small towns, selling them to people who do terrible things. My blood went cold. How do you know this? Because I worked for him. Before Michael, after Michael. I was his scout. I'd identify potential targets, watch families, report back on security, routines, vulnerabilities. You helped kidnap other children? Michael's voice was barely controlled. Yes, I'm not proud of it, but yes. The drugs made me desperate, and Robert paid well. I told myself I was just providing information, that I wasn't directly hurting anyone. Until you decided to freelance with Michael. Linda nodded miserably. Robert was furious when he found out. I was supposed to deliver Michael to him, but instead, I kept Michael for myself. Robert cut me loose, said I was too unstable to work with. Where is he now? This Robert Hensley? Still operating as far as I know. He has a network, people in law enforcement, social services, even some politicians. That's how he's stayed hidden for so long. Martinez's voice crackled in my earpiece. Get specifics. Names, locations, anything we can use. I need details, Linda. Names of people who worked with him, where he operates from. I have everything written down. Back at my motel room. Names, dates, locations where children were taken, bank account numbers Robert used to pay us, license plate numbers of the vehicles we used. Why didn't you take this to police years ago? Because I was terrified. Robert has people everywhere. He's had witnesses killed before. When I got clean, when I started teaching, I thought about coming forward. But I was too scared and too ashamed. What changed? Linda looked at Michael, then back at me. Your daughter. When Emma figured out who I was, when I realized our past had caught up with me anyway, I decided it was time to stop running. Michael spoke for the first time in several minutes. The basement where you kept me. Was that Robert's place? No, that was mine. An old house I was squatting in. Robert's operations are much more sophisticated. Underground facilities, sometimes mobile units. He moves the children quickly, usually out of state within 48 hours. How many children, Linda? How many families destroyed because of what you helped this monster do? She closed her eyes. At least 30 that I know of, probably more. The truth is a weapon that cuts both ways. It can free you or destroy you. I want to see the evidence, I said. Tonight, before you turn yourself in. Linda shook her head. Too dangerous. If Robert's people are watching, then we do this properly, Martinez's voice said through my earpiece, but I pulled out the device and set it on the table. Agent Martinez, can you hear me? Sarah, what are you doing? Linda, this is Agent Martinez with the FBI. She's been tracking Robert Hensley for 3 years without success. If you cooperate fully, testify against him, help us take down his entire network, I can guarantee you'll be placed in protective custody. Linda stared at the small device. How long have they been listening? The entire time. Linda, you have a choice. Help us stop Robert Hensley and maybe find some redemption, or spend the rest of your life running from both the law and his organization. Mom, Michael said quietly, There's something else. I looked at my son, seeing something new in his expression. Not fear, certainty. What is it? I lied earlier, about not remembering everything clearly. He turned to Linda. I remember exactly what you told me about Robert Hensley. I remember the address you mentioned. I remember the names of other people who worked with him. Linda went pale. Michael, no. If you testify... I'm already testifying. I've been working with the FBI for 2 years, trying to help them track down the trafficking network. This meeting tonight? It was my idea. The world tilted. What are you talking about? Michael looked at me with apologetic eyes. Mom, I'm sorry I didn't tell you. When I turned 16, I contacted Agent Martinez on my own. I told her everything I remembered about my time in that basement, including the things Linda said about other missing children. We've been building a case against Robert Hensley ever since. The nightmares stopped because you were taking action, I realized. Exactly. I couldn't heal until I knew I was helping to stop the people who hurt other families like ours. Linda stood up abruptly. This was a setup. No, I said quickly. Linda, sit down. Michael, why didn't you tell me? Because I knew you'd try to stop me. You'd want to protect me instead of letting me help catch these people. Martinez's voice came through the earpiece again. Sarah, we have movement in the tree line, multiple vehicles approaching the park. This is not our people. Linda's face went white. Robert found us. When predators hunt in packs, sometimes the only escape is to become the hunter. Get down! Martinez's voice shouted through the earpiece as floodlights suddenly blazed from 3 different directions. I grabbed Michael and pulled him behind the picnic table just as the first gunshot cracked across the park. Linda dove in the opposite direction, rolling behind a tree. Federal agents! Martinez's voice boomed over a loudspeaker. Drop your weapons! More gunshots, splintering wood, the metallic ping of bullets hitting playground equipment. Mom, are you hit? Michael's voice was steady despite the chaos. No, you? I'm okay. I could hear Martinez coordinating through my earpiece. Snipers, take out the floodlights. Tactical teams Alpha and Bravo, move in from the north. Charlie team, secure the civilians. The lights went out one by one as FBI sharpshooters found their marks. In the sudden darkness, I could see muzzle flashes from at least 6 different positions around the park. Sarah, Linda's voice called out. There's a storm drain 20 feet behind you. It connects to the tunnel system under the city. I'm not leaving Michael. We all go together, or none of us make it out alive. Another burst of automatic weapons fire shredded the picnic table above our heads. Michael grabbed my hand. Mom, we have to move, now. We crawled toward the sound of Linda's voice, keeping low as bullets whined overhead. The storm drain was barely visible in the darkness, a concrete opening maybe 3 feet wide. Ladies first, Linda said with dark humor, gesturing toward the opening. I hesitated. Every instinct told me not to trust her, not to follow the woman who had kidnapped my son into a dark underground tunnel. Sarah, she said urgently, I know these tunnels. I lived in them for 2 years. I can get us out of here safely. And then what? You disappear again? Then I keep my promise. I testify against Robert Hensley and everyone in his network. But first, we all have to survive the night. Michael was already moving toward the drain. Mom, we don't have a choice. He was right. The gunfire was getting closer, and I could hear vehicles converging on the park from multiple directions. I slid into the storm drain first, splashing into ankle-deep water that smelled of rust and decay. Michael followed, then Linda, who pulled a small flashlight from her jacket. This way, she whispered, leading us deeper into the tunnel system. Behind us, the sounds of the firefight grew muted and distant. We moved through the darkness like refugees, following Linda's small beam of light through a maze of concrete passages. How do you know Robert found us? I asked as we walked. Because I've been running from him for 10 years, and I know how he operates. He has people monitoring police frequencies, FBI communications, social media. When word got out about a kidnapper from 2014 being found, he would have started tracking the investigation. You led him right to us. No, Sarah. Michael led him to us when he started working with the FBI 2 years ago. Robert's been watching your family ever since, waiting for the right moment to clean up loose ends." Michael stopped walking. "What do you mean, loose ends?" Linda's flashlight beam wavered. "I mean, you're the only living witness to his operation from the 2014 time period. And now that you're cooperating with law enforcement—" She didn't need to finish the sentence. We all understood. "How much farther?" I asked. "Half a mile. There's an exit near the old railway yard. My car is parked there." We walked in silence for several minutes, the only sounds our footsteps echoing off wet concrete and the distant drip of water. Finally, Michael spoke. "Linda, why didn't Robert just kill you years ago? Why let you run?" "Because he thought I was dead. I staged my own death in 2015. Fake drowning. Body never recovered. I've been Rebecca Thornton ever since. Until Emma figured it out. Your daughter is remarkably perceptive. She reminded me so much of myself at that age, too smart for her own good, asking questions adults didn't want to answer." We reached a junction where 3 tunnels met. Linda paused, studying the walls. "This way," she said, turning left. "Are you sure?" "I lived down here for 2 years, Sarah. These tunnels were my home when I had nowhere else to go." As we walked, she continued talking, her voice echoing strangely in the enclosed space. "I know you hate me, both of you, and you have every right to. But I need you to understand something. Taking Michael wasn't just about my delusions or drug addiction. It was about something broken inside me, something that made me believe I could fix other people's families by destroying them." "That doesn't make it right," Michael said. "No, it doesn't. But it explains why I spent the last 10 years trying to become someone different, someone who helps children instead of hurting them." "By teaching 3rd grade?" "By teaching 3rd grade. By volunteering at homeless shelters. By trying to make amends for the damage I caused. I know I can never undo what I did to your family, but I hoped I could at least do some good with whatever time I had left." I wanted to stay angry at her. Anger was easier than the complex mix of emotions I was feeling. Rage, yes, but also something that might have been pity, or understanding, or forgiveness. "The exit should be just ahead," Linda said. But when we rounded the next corner, we found ourselves face to face with 2 men holding flashlights and guns. "Hello, Linda," one of them said. "Robert's been looking for you." Sometimes the only way out is through the heart of what you fear most. The taller man, thin, angular, with dead eyes, kept his gun trained on Linda, while his partner, stocky with graying hair, covered Michael and me. "Robert wants to see you," the tall one said. "All of you. Alive, preferably, but that's negotiable." "Run," Linda whispered to us. "When I move, you run back the way we came." "Nobody's running anywhere," the stocky man said. "Nice and easy, back up the tunnel. We've got people at every exit." But Linda was already moving, lunging toward the tall man with desperate fury. They crashed into the tunnel wall, his gun skittering across the wet concrete. "Go!" Linda screamed. Michael grabbed my hand and we ran back into the darkness, splashing through puddles, bouncing off tunnel walls. Behind us I heard shouting, a gunshot, then silence. "Mom, this way!" Michael pulled me toward a side passage I hadn't noticed before. "How do you know?" "I've been studying these tunnels for 2 years, part of the FBI operation." We moved through the narrow passage, Michael leading now with the confidence of someone who had memorized every turn. The sound of pursuit echoed behind us. Footsteps, voices, flashlight beams dancing on the walls. "There," Michael pointed ahead to a ladder leading up to a manhole cover. "Emergency exit." He climbed first, straining against the heavy metal cover until it shifted. Street light poured down into the tunnel as he pushed it aside. I climbed up after him, emerging onto a quiet residential street I didn't recognize. Michael replaced the cover and we ran toward the nearest intersection, looking for a street sign, a landmark, anything familiar. "Where are we?" "About 6 blocks from the FBI field office," Michael said, pulling out his phone. "Mom, there's no signal." A black SUV turned the corner ahead of us, moving slowly, searchlight scanning the sidewalks. "This way." I pulled Michael between two houses, through a backyard, over a fence. We found ourselves in an alley behind a row of small businesses. A diner, a laundromat, a pawn shop, all closed at this hour. "Mom," Michael said quietly, "I'm sorry I didn't tell you about working with the FBI. I was trying to protect you. We'll discuss it later. Right now, we need to find a way to contact Martinez." I tried my phone. No signal, just like Michael's. "They're jamming communications," I realized. "Robert's people are more sophisticated than we thought." We moved carefully through the alley, staying in the shadows, listening for vehicles or footsteps. At the end of the block, I could see the lights of a main thoroughfare. "If we can get to that street, flag down a police car." Michael grabbed my arm. "Mom, look!" Two more black SUVs were parked on the main street, men with weapons standing beside them. "They've surrounded the area," Michael said. "Probably a 6-block radius around where we emerged." We backtracked deeper into the residential neighborhood, looking for somewhere to hide, somewhere to think. Most of the houses were dark, their occupants asleep, unaware of the manhunt happening in their neighborhood. "There," I pointed to a house with several cars in the driveway and newspapers piled up on the porch. "Looks like they're out of town." We slipped into the backyard, finding the inevitable spare key under a fake rock near the back door. The house was silent, stuffy with the air of abandonment. "Mom, we need to call the FBI." "With what? Our phones aren't working." Michael moved through the dark house to the front window, peering carefully through the blinds. "There's a landline in the kitchen." I picked up the phone, dial tone, thank God. I called Martinez's direct number. "Martinez, it's Sarah. We're alive." "Jesus Christ, where are you? We lost contact when the shooting started." Linda led us into the storm drains. "We're in a house about 6 blocks northeast of the park. Robert Hensley's people are everywhere." "Give me the address. We're coming to get you." I read the address from a piece of mail on the counter. "How bad was it at the park?" 3 of Hensley's men dead, 2 of ours wounded. We found Linda Carey about 20 minutes ago in the tunnels." "Is she alive?" "Barely. She's in surgery now. Sarah, she left something for you before she lost consciousness." "What?" "An address. She said it's where Robert keeps his files, his records of all the missing children. Everything you need to shut down his operation." I looked at Michael, who had been listening to my half of the conversation. "Agent Martinez, we're not going to a safe house. We're going to that address." "Sarah, absolutely not. You're civilians. My son has been working this case for 2 years. I've been hunting this monster for 10. We're finishing this tonight." The address Linda gave us. It's heavily fortified. Armed guards, electronic surveillance. It would take us hours to plan a proper assault. "Then we don't assault it. We walk in the front door." Michael looked at me like I'd lost my mind. "Mom, what are you talking about?" I smiled at my brave, brilliant son. "Michael, how would you like to meet the man who's been hunting you for 2 years?" The best way to catch a monster is to make him think he's caught you. Martinez arrived with a tactical team 20 minutes later, surrounding the house where we'd taken shelter. But instead of taking us to safety, she listened to my plan with the grim attention of someone who knew it might be our only chance. "You want to walk into Robert Hensley's compound voluntarily? Sarah, that's suicide." "Not voluntarily. As prisoners. His men have been hunting us all night. What if they finally caught us?" Michael caught on immediately. "We go in wearing wires, but make it look like we're captured. While they're interrogating us, you record everything. Confessions, details about other missing children, evidence of the trafficking network." "It's insane," Martinez said, but I could see her considering it. "Agent Martinez," I said, "Linda Carey is dying in a hospital bed. She may be the only person alive who can testify against Hensley's operation. If we don't get evidence tonight, he disappears forever, and 30 families never get answers about their missing children." "What about Emma? What about David? If this goes wrong if this goes wrong, Emma grows up knowing her mother died trying to protect other children from the monster who hurt her brother. That's a legacy I can live with, or die with. Martinez was quiet for a long time, studying maps of Hensley's compound on her tablet. Finally, she looked up. We do this my way. Full surveillance, backup teams in position, extraction plan ready the moment things go sideways. Agreed. And Michael, you don't say a word unless directly asked. Let your mother do the talking. Yes, ma'am. An hour later, 2 of Martinez's agents, posing as Hensley's men, marched Michael and me through the front gate of a sprawling warehouse complex on the outskirts of the city. Our hands were zip-tied behind our backs, but the tiny recording devices sewn into our clothing were active. Robert Hensley looked exactly like I'd imagined. Average height, graying brown hair, the kind of forgettable face that wouldn't stand out in a crowd. He was sitting behind a metal desk in what appeared to be an office space built inside the warehouse. Mrs. Sarah Patterson, he said pleasantly, and the famous Michael. I've been looking forward to meeting you both. Go to hell, I said. He smiled. Spirited, I like that. Please, sit down. The chairs were bolted to the floor, designed to keep prisoners in place. As we sat, I tried to catalog details, exits, number of guards, potential weapons, everything the FBI would need for their raid. I suppose you're wondering why I went through all this trouble to find you. Because my son can identify you. Partly, yes, but also because Linda Carey has been feeding information to federal agents, information that could be problematic for my business. What business? Kidnapping children? Hensley's expression hardened. I provide a service. I connect people who want children with children who need better homes. You're a human trafficker. I'm a facilitator. Most of the children I've helped relocate were in terrible situations. Abuse, neglect, poverty. I've given them opportunities for better lives. Michael spoke for the first time. What about Katie Morrison? Did you give her a better life when you sold her to that man in Oklahoma? Hensley's eyes sharpened. You remember Katie? I remember all of them. The photos Linda showed me, the things she said about where they were going, what was going to happen to them. Linda said a lot of things. Most of them weren't true. She said you kept detailed records, financial transactions, client lists, delivery dates. She said you were too paranoid to trust anyone else with that information. I saw what Michael was doing, goading Hensley into revealing the location of his records. Your friend Linda was more paranoid than I am. Do you know what she did when she decided to keep you instead of delivering you to your new family? What? She stole my backup files. Insurance, she called it. Evidence she could use against me if I ever tried to hurt her. Where are those files now? Hensley smiled. Excellent question. Linda hid them somewhere before faking her death in 2015. I've been looking for them ever since. Maybe that's why she came back, I said. To retrieve them. Possibly. Or maybe she came back because she knew her time was running out. A younger man entered the office and whispered something in Hensley's ear. His expression changed. It seems we have federal agents surrounding the building, he said calmly. How disappointing. I had hoped for a longer conversation. It's over, Robert, I said. Turn yourself in, cooperate with the investigation. Maybe you can avoid the death penalty. Mrs. Patterson, you seem to think I'm some kind of criminal. I'm simply a businessman who's been misunderstood. A businessman who murders children. For the first time, Hensley's calm facade cracked. I have never murdered a child. Never. My clients may not always have the children's best interests at heart, but that's not my responsibility. You sell children to pedophiles and killers. Their blood is on your hands. Prove it. The challenge hung in the air between us, and suddenly, I realized what Linda Carey had really given us, not just an address, but a confession trap. I don't have to prove it, I said. You just confessed, on tape, to federal agents who are listening to every word. Hensley's face went white as he understood what had happened. Michael smiled for the first time all night. The files Linda stole? She gave them to the FBI 2 years ago when I first contacted them. Everything you just said? It confirms what's in those files." The sound of battering rams hitting the warehouse doors echoed through the building. 6 months later, I stood in a federal courtroom watching Robert Hensley receive a life sentence without possibility of parole. The judge's gavel came down with finality that echoed through the packed courtroom. Families of missing children, some who had been found, others still searching, filled every seat. We had become a community of survivors, bound together by loss and hope, and the kind of justice that doesn't heal wounds but helps them scar properly. Michael sat beside me, no longer the traumatized 7-year-old or the secretly investigating teenager. At 17, he had testified with the composure of someone twice his age, describing in clear, unflinching detail everything he remembered about his captivity, and the photographs Linda Carey had shown him. Hensley's network had unraveled completely. 14 arrests across 6 states, 43 missing children accounted for, some recovered alive, others confirmed dead, but all finally returned to their families in one way or another. Linda Carey had survived her surgery but remained in federal custody, serving as a protected witness. Her testimony had been devastating, precise, remorseless in its honesty about the horrors she had helped facilitate. The redemption she sought would be measured in decades, not months. "Mrs. Patterson?" Agent Martinez touched my shoulder as we filed out of the courtroom. "There's someone who wants to meet you." Katie Morrison was 21 now, a college student with bright eyes and her father's stubborn chin. She had been recovered 3 years ago from a trafficking ring in Nevada, one of the connections that had led investigators to Hensley's larger operation. "I wanted to thank you," she said simply, "for not giving up, for making sure he couldn't hurt anyone else." I hugged her, this young woman who had been a child in a photograph in a kidnapper's basement. "You don't need to thank me. You survived. That's everything." Michael appeared at my side, and Katie smiled at him. "You're the boy from the photos, aren't you? The one who remembered." "I'm one of them, yes. I was so scared when I was little that no one would remember us, that we'd just disappear, and no one would know we'd ever existed." "Someone always remembers," Michael said quietly. "That's what keeps us fighting." We drove home through familiar streets, past the park where this all began, past the school where Emma was finishing 3rd grade with a substitute teacher who didn't have Linda Carey's complicated history. David was waiting with dinner ready, and Emma's homework spread across the kitchen table. Normal life, the kind Linda Carey had stolen from us 10 years ago, and we had fought to reclaim. "How was court?" David asked. "Justice," I said simply. Emma looked up from her math worksheet. "Did you win, Mommy?" "Yes, sweetheart, we won." "Good. Now can we have ice cream?" I laughed, the first genuine laugh I'd had in months. "Yes, we can have ice cream." That night, after the dishes were done and homework was finished, I found Michael on the back porch, looking up at the stars. "Any regrets?" I asked, settling into the chair beside him. "About testifying? About working with the FBI? About tonight?" "About any of it." Michael was quiet for a long moment. "I used to have nightmares about that basement. About Linda, about being trapped, about no one coming to find me. But now, when I think about that time, I remember that I wasn't just a victim. I was a witness. I was gathering evidence. Even at 7 years old, I was fighting back. You were extraordinary. You still are. Mom, there's something I've been wanting to tell you. Something I've learned through all of this." "What's that?" "Forgiveness isn't about forgetting what happened or pretending it doesn't matter. It's about choosing not to let the people who hurt you control your future." I thought about Linda Carey in her federal prison cell, about the children whose lives she had helped destroy, about the families who would never fully heal from what she had taken from them. "Do you forgive her?" "I forgive the sick woman who took me because she thought she was saving me. I don't forgive the person who helped Robert Hensley hurt dozens of other children, but I also don't hate her anymore. Hate takes too much energy, and I have better things to do with my life." "Smart boy," wise beyond his years, forged by trauma into something stronger than what tried to break him. What about you, Mom? Do you forgive her? I'm working on it. Some days are easier than others. That's honest. I appreciate honest. We sat in comfortable silence, mother and son, survivors and fighters, watching the stars wheel overhead in their ancient patterns. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new healing, new opportunities to help other families find their way through the darkness. But tonight, we were home. We were safe. We were together. And sometimes, that's the only justice that really matters. If my story touched your heart, please consider subscribing to my channel and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Your support helps me continue sharing these important stories of resilience, justice, and the power of never giving up hope. Thank you for listening, and remember, you are stronger than whatever tries to break you. Sarah Patterson.